The house was already awake when I arrived. Not alive in the way a house should be. No lights on, no movement behind the curtains, but awake in the sense that it knew I was coming. The moment my car tires touched the gravel driveway, the wind stopped. Not slowed. Not shifted direction. It simply stopped, like someone had pressed pause on the world. I sat there longer than I should have, keys still in my hand, listening to the silence. It felt thick, padded, the kind of quiet that makes your own breathing sound like a mistake. The house stood at the end of the drive, old and narrow, its paint peeled down to gray wood. The windows reflected nothing but sky, as if the inside refused to show itself. I told myself it was just nerves. I'd inherited the place 2 weeks earlier from an uncle I barely knew, Uncle Haroon, a man who sent birthday cards every year without fail, always unsigned except for a shaky H at the bottom. A man who never invited anyone over. A man who, according to the lawyer, died quietly in his sleep. Quietly. That word would come back to haunt me. I stepped out of the car. The gravel crunched far too loud beneath my shoes, echoing toward the house. The front door was unlocked. That should have worried me more than it did, but exhaustion dulled my instincts. The air inside smelled stale, like dust and cold iron. Not rot. Not mold. Just old air that had been breathing itself for too long. The door closed behind me on its own. Not slammed. Not dramatic. Just clicked shut, gentle and final. I stood in the entryway, waiting for fear to arrive properly. Instead, I felt watched. Not from a specific corner, but from everywhere at once, like the walls themselves were leaning in. The house was narrow inside. Hallways tighter than they looked from outside. Every step forward seemed to shorten the distance behind me. The floorboards creaked, but not under my weight. Half a second before, as if the house was anticipating where I would step. I laughed quietly, trying to break the tension. The sound didn't carry. It felt swallowed. The living room was mostly empty. A couch covered in a white sheet. A clock on the wall that wasn't ticking. I leaned closer and saw the second hand was moving. Smooth, silent, wrong. Time without sound. That's when I noticed the notebook on the table. It was small, black, and worn thin at the edges. My name was written on the cover. Not printed. Not labeled. Written. My handwriting. Picked it up slowly. The first page was blank except for a single sentence at the top. You arrived later than last time. My mouth went dry. I flipped the page. More writing. Still mine. Don't turn around yet. Let the house settle. Froze. The air shifted behind me. Not a sound. Just a pressure change, like something tall had leaned closer. I didn't turn around. The next page. You always forget this part. That's why it takes so long. My heart started pounding hard enough to hurt. I told myself this was a prank. Some elaborate joke. Maybe I'd written this myself and forgotten. Stress can do strange things. But I knew my own limits. And this was beyond them. I closed the notebook and placed it back on the table, very carefully, like it might explode. That's when the clock stopped moving. The silence deepened. A voice spoke from behind me. Not loud. Not whispering. Just conversational. You came alone this time. Turned. No one was there. The hallway behind me stretched longer than it had before, darker at the far end. A door I hadn't noticed earlier stood slightly open. Light spilled from beneath it, warm and yellow, completely out of place. I didn't want to go toward it. I went anyway. Each step felt rehearsed, like my body already knew the path. The door led to a small study. Bookshelves lined the walls, filled with notebooks identical to the one on the table. Hundreds of them. All labeled with dates. All in my handwriting. My knees weakened. I grabbed the desk for support. On it lay a photograph face down. I flipped it over. It was me. Older. Thinner. Hollow. Standing in front of the same house. On the back of the photo were 3 words. Almost remembered this time. The room felt smaller. The air grew warmer, heavy with breath that wasn't mine. I heard movement. Not footsteps, but shifting weight, like something large adjusting its posture. "Why do you keep coming back?" the voice asked gently. "I don't," I said, though my voice shook. "I've never been here before." Pause. Then soft laughter. "That's what you said last time too." The bookshelves began to creak. One notebook slid free and fell open at my feet. I knelt despite myself and read. Day 1. He doesn't remember. He never does. I flipped pages faster. Day 3. He's starting to notice the gaps. Day 7. He cried tonight. I almost felt bad. Day 12. He tried to leave. The house corrected him. I slammed the notebook shut. "What is this?" I demanded. The voice came closer. I felt breath near my ear. Cold, careful. "This is where you learned how to stay." The lights flickered. For a brief second, the room reflected in the dark window, except I wasn't alone in the reflection. Something stood behind me. Bent wrong at the joints. Its face blurred, like it couldn't decide what it should look like. I spun around. Nothing. But my reflection lagged behind by half a second. I stumbled back, heart racing. "That's not me," I whispered. "It is," the voice replied. Just later. Memories started to leak in. Not full images, sensations. Fear. Repetition. The feeling of waking up already tired. Of writing notes to myself and hiding them where I'd hopefully find them. "Why?" I asked. "Why me?" The house groaned like it was stretching. "You were lonely," the voice said. "You asked to be remembered." The words hit something deep and old inside me. A memory surfaced. Sitting alone in a dark apartment, talking to no one, wishing someone would notice if I disappeared. "I didn't mean this," I said. "No one ever does." The floor beneath me shifted. The walls subtly realigned. Doors sliding into new positions. The exit hallway no longer led to the front door. Curved back toward the study. "You can leave," the voice said kindly. "You always can." "Then why haven't I?" Another pause. "Because you never choose to." Ran. The house resisted. Not grabbing, not chasing, but changing. Hallways extended. Doors led to rooms I'd already been in. The clock appeared everywhere, always silent, always watching. I found the front door at last and threw it open. Outside was the driveway, and my car, parked exactly as I'd left it. Relief flooded me. I ran, jumped inside, slammed the door and turned the key. The engine started, then stopped. The radio turned on by itself. A familiar voice spoke through the speakers. Tired. If you're hearing this, it means you panicked again. My hands trembled. You'll want to believe this is the first time. It's not. You always get close. But listen carefully this time. The radio crackled. The house doesn't trap you. It waits for you to choose it. The engine restarted on its own. I looked up. The house was gone. No driveway. No trees. Just endless darkness ahead. And you always do, the voice finished softly. The notebook appeared on the passenger seat. Open. Blank. Waiting. And somewhere deep inside me, a memory settled back into place, comfortable and familiar. Picked up the pen.